Okay, you want to jump right in? Because I know there were like so many sessions, and I think we were going to hit the two that were like the standouts for us.
Let's do it.
Hi. Okay. So so this is the ASJA conference, American Society of Journalists and Authors, but lots of like content marketing stuff, brand journalism stuff. I mean, it has been such like a diverse range. There are like book authors. There's a book author track. I know I mostly am focusing on the content marketing, and Ashley, you did some of that and some of the journalism stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been kind of popping in to some of even the book ones. It's been really cool to kind of see other ways to take, your writing and really diversify.
Yeah. Okay. So the first session that really stood out, we were both in, was on brand journalism. These editors were also calling it branded content. So these are, you can go on the sja.org website and find all the editors who participated in these sessions and like connect with them on LinkedIn or follow up. And so there was like Money Media, Fortune Brand Studio, Wall Street Journal, Politico, Forbes Content Studio. So these are not like these agencies are doing sponsored content on those publications. So they're totally separate editor teams and pitches. They're more like assignments and pitches, right, Ashley?
Yes.
And I work with a branded agency, not one of these, but a different one. And let me tell you guys, this is like Uber bucks, like well over $1 a word. Like for me, I think that's high. Yeah. Like my content marketing, writing business. And so like, I think this was a great opportunity. As like a way to find different types of clients that like pay really well.
I think so too. I think so too. And I think a lot of, people like, I studied journalism. So I was a newspaper in my career. So a lot of times I feel like people who were trained as journalists, we want to go after the consumer publications. Maybe it's more for ego. Yep. But it's to your point, if you do this branded journalism, some folks call it sponsored content or native advertising. It's basically stories. They're advertisements, but they're made to look like real reporting, real stories. Yep. And just like you said, Lauren, that's a great way to generate income. And if you have a passion project, that can be for yourself. But if you need to pay your mortgage, look into brand journalism as an opportunity.
And diversifying is always so good anyway, because industries might have budget hits where like another may not. And like these editors were saying, like these budgets are not going anywhere. So if you've had some clients who are pulling back, AI is not coming for this area of content. So we had some great takeaways. I'll share like one or two, Ashley, and then tell me what stood out.
Yeah.
One of the things, this really stood out to me as like a thing the editors were saying to do, like writers can do to attract this work. So I don't know if you've heard this debate on LinkedIn of like whether if you're a freelancer, should you put your clients as like employers with date ranges? And I always thought like, no, whatever, like that's not like, I'm not going to do that. These editors were saying, yes, put publications or like companies that you freelance for, because then they can just skim and it shows like how long you've worked with a certain client, like which is attractive to them. And so like that to me was like, great. If those are the people who are hiring for these great jobs, I will add my, onto my LinkedIn profile. So that to me like ended that debate right there.
Right. I think so. And one of the editors, I don't know if it was Katie from Politico, she was saying something to the effect of, no, we want to brag about our writers because, they're hiring us and really we're subcontractors for them. That was another point that I really liked, that being comfortable being client facing, if you can talk about those experiences, even if they're in other industries, to say, no, I've been client facing, in my 9-to-5 job, or I can be in front of a client and I'm not going to make you look bad. Publication. So that, to your point, they want to be able to brag about us and feel good presenting us forward on their behalf with these advertisers.
Yeah. And so depending on where you are in your freelancing career, like that might be a goal for you. Like, okay, I want to get my byline on a noticeable publication, even if it's not like the best pay, just having that visibility for your name, you can see where it's going to lead to these other opportunities. So like maybe that's a takeaway. If you haven't yet had like a publication that most people know. So there was another really good takeaway from this one on branded content. We're talking, for those of you who are joining us, we're branded content agencies. So showing your expertise both in industries, but also the type of content that you can produce. They were saying long form and feature articles is a really coveted skill set, as are infographics. They can't find people to make infographics. Great. I was note to myself, make an infographic about something and put it on LinkedIn and pin it. just so people can see that I can do that. Why not?
Absolutely. That was it seemed to be a wide open space for us writers to kind of enter, learn about. The other thing I picked up too, Daryl Curtin from the Wall Street Journal, he really said that he's still looking for good storytellers. So even if you come in thinking that this brand journalism stuff is, you know, the client is trying to get a certain message to the readers for whatever publication that is, he was saying that for us writers, he doesn't want us just to interview the sources that the advertiser provides and kind of like, you know, just say what they want to say, but really extend ourselves and do the research, do the outsourced research, and not just be able to tell the story. So storytelling is still important, even though this type of writing could be considered like advertising, pay to play, kind of marketing. So I appreciated that point.
Yeah, and I've found that theme in all the sessions. We have a question on, can we clarify client facing? That's like, you're going to be on a call or a video conference with the client representing the agency that you're writing for. And sometimes they'll say that you're a freelancer, sometimes they might not, and you just kind of dance around the fact that you're not a full-time member of the team.
Absolutely.
Like you might be interviewing someone or just being on strategy calls.
Definitely. And sometimes the clients don't know. Like early in my career, I was working with like a legal custom publishing company. And so the lawyers would pay them to write stories about them that would appear in different magazines, like regional magazines like New York Magazine or LA Times if they're over there in California. And so, yeah, they didn't know. And so sometimes when I would interview them, they would ask me questions about their advertising, like what they paid for, like other parts of their package. And maybe the editor hadn't had that conversation with me to understand the context of this is what that customer signed up for. So the customer doesn't know. The customer may not know that we're freelance and that we've just been assigned to like write the story and that's it. So being able to like say, oh, I'll get that answer for you, or let me talk to my editor, you know, being able to like be quick on your feet and still look professional, even if you don't know an answer, so that the customer has a great experience across the board.
Yeah. Another takeaway from this session, so we talked about designating your niche or expertise in specific industries as well as project types. Also, showing off your network for a background interview. So like if you are assigned and have to find your own sources, they feel comfortable that you can do that and find reputable sources to include. So for me, like a way to implement this that I was thinking of is to, you know, like when you have other stories, like sharing those on LinkedIn and tagging someone, you know, and saying, thank you for being in this, you know, thanks for being in my article. And just kind of, I think if an editor is checking out your LinkedIn profile, it shows that you have a network and resources to get a good story out of sources.
I love it. Yeah. Love it. One thing I noticed, and I love the moderator of this panel because she really tried to ask about money. It feels like every session, you know, we're getting good information, right? But some outlets won't say publicly like what they pay, and of course, us writers, we want to know like how much are you paying? What are we talking about? And I just wanted to mention for the audience, Forbes, Nick Clune, who is the editor there, he said they pay $1,500 for standard articles and higher rates.
Yes,
right, for other products. And so just so you can have a baseline.
Yes, and Megan Gilbert from Fortune said multiple thousands at a minimum. So you can find those editors before you can go onto the ASJA.org conference website and see who all the speakers were and like connect with them on LinkedIn. And it seems like they're open to that. And everyone was sort of like, it's not like a specific hiring time. It's like you don't know what company is coming in tomorrow to request a sponsored content article, and so like they just want to have this network of writers that they can tap into.
Absolutely, it was good. And I don't know if it was a function of the publications that were represented, but in terms of like subject matter expertise, I wrote down B2B tech, financial services, asset management, mutual fund companies, everything up in your lane, Lauren. Actually, financial annuities, CBG products, financial advisors, stuff like that. Insurance, you know about that. So those seem to be paying. That seems to be where the demand is.
Yeah, and I feel like even if you maybe like don't have expertise in those specific areas, it shows you like maybe a lane to go into, or like how could you like position something you've already written or done for a client that like maybe serves the same audience or shows like I have this level of research. Like I've gotten jobs that way. Yes, I will post the link for ASJ.org. But like just got distracted. But anyway, yeah, we can move on, Ashley.
I love it. I love it. I think that, yes, we're going to definitely be posting. Maybe we were talking about like a Google Doc of our notes so that our colleagues, we can share that with you if you're interested. ASJA, like what Lauren just posted, is a really great resource. And also thinking like, just because I shouted out all that financial stuff, if you've written about other industries that are highly regulated, that might be something to speak about, that you can transfer those skills. So I'm thinking like pharmaceuticals or something with medicine. Like if you've written about those kind of things, you can say, you know, I know what it's like to write for a highly regulated industry.
Yeah, or like interviewing, like here's something that showcases my interview skill sets.
Yeah.
This wasn't in this session, but this was just another client type that I think it was like in the 9 to 5 freelancing session. This woman, like the majority of her freelance income comes from university magazines and like and like doing stories for that. She's like, they have 2 a year. And so like, I know my schedule, and I have like smaller projects that I fill in through the rest of the months. So I was just like, that never occurred to me to go after clients in that arena. So I just wanted to share that in case that was attractive to anybody here.
I think that was mentioned in another one. There was a session about breaking into your dream publications. It was later in the day yesterday, and she mentioned alumni magazines too.
Oh.
She was saying not so yeah, there's something there. She was saying not just your school, like if you went to university, like that would be a great place, low-hanging fruit, because a lot of them actually, she was saying that they try to have writers who actually went to their school. They will hire other writers, you know, depending on what the story is, but that's low-hanging fruit. Go to your own university, your own college, see if they have publications, and use that as an entry point, and even other universities in your geographic area. So even if you didn't go to them, but they're in your city, those would be great places to enter.
Yeah. That's a great idea, Ashley. Anything else on the brand journalism one, or do you want to move on to the next session?
I think we can move on to the next session. I think those were some good highlights.
Okay, the next session that we were both in that we just thought had great takeaways and easy to implement was a session on monetizing your expertise.
Yeah.
This was Andia. I don't know if any of you follow him. He's like a business writing coach and like does a lot of content strategy as well. So like this started off with him asking like, what are you giving away to your clients for free? You know, like if they have a call and you're basically like doing paid strategy work for them, how can you migrate that into paying work?
Absolutely. And he was kind of saying, you know, for a lot of us, when we interact with a client at the beginning, they've already identified, or they think they know what they need to achieve whatever outcome. They may not know. Sometimes it's, well, my competitor has a white paper, so I need a white paper. And that may not be what they really need, but a lot of times that's when we're entering, Ed called it a downstream and upstream, like kind of like think of a river, and think of like kind of the journey, right, that a customer would make to decide, hey, we need a writer now. And he was saying a lot of us enter in, that's when we enter, kind of too late. And so he was saying, if we can find ways to be part of those conversations that happen earlier to discover, well, client, why do you think you need a white paper? And really talking about what is it that you want to achieve? Like, what is it that you want this to do? Because you may be thinking it's a white paper, but as writers, we may be able to say, hey, this would be a great infographic. You know, you could achieve what you're looking for with a different vehicle. And so being part of those conversations earlier can position us not just as like a note taker and a busy bee, but more of a consultant and a strategist. And he was, I love that he was tying this into what we're seeing in AI and people feeling like, is ChatGPT going to steal our jobs and all of that. So anything that we can do, 2 things that that he was saying, basically we need to be paid for those ideas that we're giving on the front end. And also thinking about how can we enter the decision-making process earlier and package those brainstorming things into offerings and actually get money for it.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely give it away, even like for not paying clients. I realize I often give away too much, like on an introductory call,
Me too.
and then I don't want to hire me, and I'm like, I just gave you so much free stuff, whatever.
I know.
So there were like three best bet offers that Ed positioned. One was like a brainstorming or ideation session, and he showed some. I took screenshots, and I'll share in my newsletter next week. Like people who have done this, some of his, I guess, writing clients who have done this and like did screenshots of their pay, because they were doing like, I think anywhere from $500 to $4,500 for like 90 minute sessions and maybe like a note or something. So the ideation session was one idea. Another was project road mapping or page discovery. And then the third was content strategy and planning. So just like, this is a great time of year to do that because like we're out of just finished second quarter. So you could follow up, and I've done this before, follow up, be like, hey, do you need any content strategy to kickstart your Q3 and make sure you are like set for the next 3 months? I do this with one of my clients, and I do these calls and I don't pay for them, or I don't charge for them. Like, should I charge? To me, it's a blurry line though, Ashley, because it's like, is it pitching or is it content strategy?
Right.
What are you?
And that was a question that I feel like that people were putting in the chat. A lot of writers were saying, well, I feel like that's part of the sales process. That's part of me showing them, you know, that I have ideas. And so kind of where is that line? And I think it's going to be different for all of us and different for each customer, right? Like if it's a customer that you've already worked with and you have some rapport and they believe in you, you know, maybe you can charge more, or you may decide not to. You maybe just decide that it's part of the goodwill to retain that client.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if we can think of about it like giving some appetizers, so maybe like one idea or two ideas, and then when it starts to kind of get hairy and they start to go into this detour, say, you know, I think this would be I see something here, and maybe if we can get a brainstorming session and bring, you know, the account managers and, you know, whatever client it is, bring those stakeholders to the table, because that's important too. Sometimes we're just talking to one person, but really there's multiple perspectives, and multiple folks on the team could benefit from the impact that we can generate from this writing, from that writing product that we're producing. So it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, but it's also like a service that you could just add to your website listed. You could add to your LinkedIn profile. And this was kind of a relevant takeaway from like the online presence session that I don't think, did you go to that one?
I didn't go to that one. No, I was
great. I want to talk about that tomorrow on LinkedIn. If you guys want more stuff, we're going to be on LinkedIn, connect with us. So this one woman was saying she just puts in her LinkedIn profile content strategy consultant. Now, I don't have that word consultant in my profile on LinkedIn. I realized I need to add that because she's gotten clients, and that was the search term they use. Like, that's what you have to think about on LinkedIn and your website. Like, what are search terms people are using? So this was a way to bring in some organic traffic for client leads. I really liked that idea.
I think that's great too. One of the other things, so those were the big three that Lauren mentioned to you guys: brainstorming, ideation session, project mapping, and the content strategy. Those are the big three that Ed kind of developed through that presentation of, here are other things you can do in addition to just writing the stuff. But he also at the end mentioned other things like when a client wants a sounding board, guidance, or accountability. If you sense that those are things that they need, they're kind of asking for, maybe they're not using those words, but you can kind of tell from the questions that that's kind of what they do need. You can offer thought leadership, strategy engagements, project shepherding, and meeting facilitation. And it's funny because I've done that too, where there's been lots of cooks in the kitchen, lots of folks that want to meet, and they're all kind of weighing, and you know, you need someone to kind of build consensus. I've never charged for that.
Yeah.
No, you know, never. And so sometimes some of what we do take in a little bit of project management responsibilities, or we are like we're talking to the photographer or talking to a videographer. We're talking to other people, and so we're not just writing, right? Yes. So we need to think about ways to package it up as an offer and charge accordingly.
Or just build it into pricing too.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Not an like, especially with an existing client, maybe it feels more comfortable to just raise the per piece rate than like be like, oh, this is a separate thing that I want to
nickel and diming. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was good for pricing because, you know, I'm always interested in the numbers, right? I always like, what do you charge or what are you paying, right? I love that he said, you know, consult colleagues that are already doing this as one way. But then he was saying that you could start with your hourly rate, estimate the hours that you know that it would take you to do. Then he says multiply by 1.2. So he adds that 20% buffer because sometimes. And then he said, oh, yeah, when you get good at it, you can charge double what that might be. But I like that he said 1.2 because oftentimes we underestimate how long things are going to take. We don't know, there's going to be curveballs thrown in.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes the confidence, sometimes we're undercharging.
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned 1.2 as a strategy to kind of get to a starting point of what you might charge for something like this.
Yes, it's true. Yep. I think that's a great day. And then he also just had a couple, like 3 different ways to find or attract these opportunities.
Yeah.
One, obviously we talked about just list and describe advisory offers on your website and on your static social media profiles, and then following up with clients, following up with your own like existing clients and being like, hey, I have this add-on. I tried that because he had like a little mini course a while ago.
Yeah.
On like, offering strategy, and it I didn't get any. It didn't work for me with like the people that I had at the time. But it's like, I feel like for me, it's a different client than I have right now. Like most content like marketing managers,
right,
that's their job. But I was like, that is maybe just like a nice pivot into a different kind of client that I might not have right now.
Absolutely. I love it. I think that he really, one note that I wrote, because everybody's talking about AI. I love AI. So anytime someone speaks about it, my ears perk up.
Yeah.
But he noted AI, is commoditizing or making a commodity writing work. So he called that hands work. And he said, writers, we need to think of head work.
Yep.
Because what we do, strategy, thinking, synthesis, analysis, insights, the robots still can't do that. So we need to be promoting the head work that we do when we're approaching a writing project. And he used the word advisory that we do, that these kind of fall under that. And that clarity, giving clarity through these offerings is super valuable. And sometimes we don't realize that helping a client when they've got a cloud of ideas, and we kind of help them hone in on what it is exactly they want and how to achieve that, that's worth money. That's super valuable. Yeah. So I really appreciated Ed's kind of like helping us see how to diversify and charge for what we do.
Right, and understand your value that you're bringing. Yeah, and there are people out there, and that's like a theme. I know a lot of people are having, a lot of freelancers maybe are having budget cuts with clients or pauses on budgets, but like a running theme through these sessions is like there are people still hiring. Like there's so much work to do. We're feeling like workload is out there. Like implement some of these strategies, post on social media, on LinkedIn, go like look for, I mean, just like pitch or like, submit proposals, and like it'll start to come in. There are not everyone is suffering. Not industries, not all industries and not all publications are suffering right now. It's just minor pivots and minor.
Absolutely. Yep. I think so. That was a good one.
That was a good. Were you in the Damon Brown?
Oh, he was great.
My favorite one to like watch, like in terms of interesting. So Damon Brown, guys, journalist, author, also like in the tech industry. So he was talking a lot about AI. So check him out. He had like a ton of books, apparently. I'm going to order like 1 or 2 of his books. So many great resources. But he was saying that AI, ChatGPT, will do what writers cannot and will not do. And what we can do is storytell. Like that theme has come up so much. Tell stories and be imperfect. He's talking about like the beauty and imperfection and like storytelling, even in corporate stuff. So today there are a couple sessions I'm excited for on corporate storytelling and thought leadership. So I think that'll like be a good skill builder in terms of like offering some of those more, less more storytelling services to different client base that has budgets.
Absolutely. I think the AI piece, that was definitely a theme, because we had Damon's presentation early in the morning. I think he was the keynote. And then at the end, they kind of bookended it with a AI chatty hour, which was super cute.
Go to that. Late for me.
I watched the recording after, and it was really good. They were talking about, one of the things that I really appreciated is, because I feel like among writers, there's a lot of different ideas, a lot of different feelings about AI. And one of them is just fear. Is it going to take our jobs? Like you said, Lauren, not everybody is embracing it. There's publications that straight up say you are not allowed to use it. If you do, absolutely. But he was saying, or Jennifer Goforth Gregory, who's written a book about, and she has a class on AI. She was talking about, we've already used AI. Grammarly, these chat bots, even spell check, autocorrect on our, cell phone when we're trying to say one word and it says ducking instead. She was saying that all of those are AI.
Yeah.
So, learning it as a skill set, adding it to your toolbox will help us not get left behind, but we don't have to approach it with fear. And like you said, Damon also said, if AI is taking your job, are you actually doing your job?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, burn. Yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, it was, he even likened it to a mirror, that this is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to distinguish ourselves, kind of what we're talking about Ed's presentation, that we can be advisors, consultants, like the word you said, Lauren.
Yeah.
So thinking, and even Damon himself, he has a YouTube show.
Yeah.
He had an app sold. He has, I think he said his 27th self-published book. Right. So writers, there's so many.
He started off publishing with Penguin, and then was like, they were trying to rein in his voice a little bit, and he was like, I want to be moving the cultural needle. Like, that's my goal with everything that I it's like, that's what I want to do. I just want to like create and like contribute a voice, I love that too. And so like, so he switched to the self-publishing route.
It was so cool because it was a way to see, a lot of times as writers, as freelance writers, freelance editors, we may not always realize that we're business owners.
Right.
We are entrepreneurs. And I love that he really spoke about that, and he tied it to caregiving, that he became the the primary, I believe, caregiver for his infant son. And that kind of led him on this journey of like, there's more than one way to be a writer. There's more than one way to create content. And so he's found that he's found ways to monetize, which I think is very inspiring. When we talk about diversifying, not just diversifying our clients, but diversifying what we produce and how we make money, I think is really refreshing. And I'm hoping that we can all kind of take those ideas and make it work for us.
Yeah. I agree. And like he was talking about, like, not all of your creative work needs to bring in, talk about his YouTube channel. He's like, I don't really like make real money from that now. I'm sure like that can just take years to develop, but like I'm never going to stop doing it because I love it. Like I crochet and I don't make money from that. I'm just like, like not everything we do in our lives needs to be monetized. And it's like, it's okay to like we're talking about the branded content. Okay. Yeah. It's like paid journalism, but if it pays the bills and then allows you to do something else or allows you to be with your family more, that's okay too.
So true. There was one presentation that I went to, I think it was called Staying Relevant and the Ever.
Tell me what you learned.
Yeah, so that was, you hit it on the head. Yeah. Because they were saying, if you want to be, say, relevant, you also have to be indispensable. Make yourself, and this is the same. If you're working for a 9 to 5, you probably know this right as well. Make yourself indispensable to your boss. As freelancers, we need to make ourselves indispensable to our editors and to our clients. And some of the ladies were saying, that they took on some of the quote unquote boring work that, in their 9 to 5 jobs, because they wanted to make their job easier, because it's part of the job. That's why they call it a job. It's not always fun. And they were saying that if you can make your editor's life easier, whether you're a writer, whether you're a publicist, that's how if you become a team player, there's going to be some assignments that are not as fun, and then you have but they pay the bills, and then there's going to be those that that feed your soul more. They also talked about SEO is still key, and then to look into a lot of like the consumer magazines are doing more commerce, like e-commerce, like they're doing a lot of affiliate. So they're put, and you'll see it in some of the more traditional magazines now on their websites will say, this is my favorite hair dryer, and they're doing, and it's like, wait, this is super salesy, but they're embracing it as a way to monetize. So it might not be sexy to us, but if we can learn about that world, there's a lot of money, because they want to make money from that. So if we can position ourselves to say, we know how to write for commerce, we understand affiliates, like we can use our storytelling to make it more interesting, even though we're really trying to sell products. That's another way that we become indispensable.
I agree. Hopping on the e-commerce train, I went to the how to hire and utilize a VA.
Ooh.
And one of the writers on there, she's like, I only do e-commerce. I think she might be with Wirecutter. Like, I think she freelanced to work there full time. She started off journalism. Now she's only doing e-commerce. and she has a VA who like finds out all the products she needs to compare. I don't know like what the niche was. It was like mattresses, or I don't know. Order stuff, I guess, like because like some of the ones are very like you just look up stuff online. Like I've done some of these roundups, and you just do online research and like compare the services and make a little rubric. But she was actually testing stuff, and she has like a 20-hour a month. She calls it a research assistant who does all of the kind of sound like a lot of the heavy lifting, and then she just goes in, tests stuff, and write.
Absolutely. A lot of times the clients, and it's okay, I think, to share that you have a team or that you have, research assistants or what have your fact checkers, or they don't really care how the sausage is made. It's and also, are we taking ownership of it? Like, are we taking responsibility, like, for our team? So if our team does it and researches the mattresses, but the client can trust that we're going to read it and it's going to be clean and it's going to be factual and everything's going to be formatted beautifully, they don't care how the sausage is made. It's like they just want it done. And I think that's a trend that I'm seeing. Everybody's busy. And everybody's kind of like, what's in it for me? So if we can do things promptly and be pleasant to work with and don't make your life harder, you're going to be successful.
Oh, and okay, so I know we're at 10:31, but like one last point that reminds me is maybe this was in the branded content or the six-figure freelancer. There came up in a couple sessions. How many editors complain about freelancers who don't respond, don't submit stuff on time? Like, that's the basic. I'm like, if that's the bar, great. Then I'm going to be in business forever. Like
forever.
Like,
you really are.
If those are like, that's what editors are looking for. Responses, deadlines.
I'm telling you, a lot of times we feel like we have to be the next Hemingway, and it's just not. It's not that. It's
not perfect.
Are we responsive? Right? Are we? And one of the guys, I think he was with the American Heart Association. He was just like, "Don't be a brat, Don't be." He's like, "I don't have time to handhold," and I thought, yeah, he doesn't have time to handhold. So, yes, if we can just do our work, be pleasant, do it on time. Evidently, we'll get you lots of points. It's the basics, really.
Yep. All right. So I guess we should wrap up. But anyway, it's a great place to be if you're not already active. Connect with me and Ashley, and we're going to be there again 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, talking about today's sessions. And I do, like I said, I did that LinkedIn online presence one yesterday. So like for folks who are active on there, I had some new stuff. Like I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and I learned stuff. So that was really
awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you, Lauren, for doing this. Thank you for everyone who joined in.
So fun.
Join us on LinkedIn.
Everybody on here.
I know.